That looks like it's working. I think we're working. I think it's live. Hello. Just going to adjust my camera because my my head always gets taken up by whatever that is above my head there. There we go. Yeah, just slice it. Mind you, with this mop of hair, it's probably no bad thing. Hello, everybody. Again, nice to have you around. We're going live doing the WP Builds Weekly WordPress News. Do this every week, 2 p.m. UK time, and we've got some fabulous guests today, including somebody that we've never had before, and that's always tremendously exciting. I'll go around in turn, as we always do, attempting to point in the right direction. So, firstly, Michelle Frechette over on my, what is that? Anyway, some side of me there is Michelle Frechette. Hi, Michelle. Do you want to introduce yourself, say who you are and who you're connected with? And
absolutely. Well, thanks for having me today. As you said, Michelle Frechette. I am the head of customer success for GiveWP, which is one of the plugins under impress.org. I also am the podcast barista at WP Coffee Talk. And I do just a host of volunteer giving away all the time I possibly can to WordPress in all kinds of different ways.
Indeed. And thank you for stepping in. We really appreciate that.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, I really think that's great. Thank you so much. Down there, our regular, slightly closer to the ceiling than normal, but how you doing, Paul?
I'm doing good, thanks. Paul here, co-founder of the Dicky Bird Studio, a small WordPress agency, also a brand ambassador for RunCloud, and generally just a WordPress community fan. Just love WordPress and nerd, that kind of stuff. Chicken owner, all those things.
Chicken owner, yeah. It was the poultry show for a while, wasn't it? This. Just one thing I've noticed, Paul, you've got a little bit lackadaisical with the shaving there, a bit like myself. Is that a plan, or is that?
It's called style, dude.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
To be fair, Nathan, I haven't shaved in 51 years, so I mean.
Well, it looks like me, Paul, and our next new guest are all sporting sort of different versions of the beard, because down there we have Scott Kingsley Clark. Hi, Scott, first time on. Very nice to welcome you on board. Tell us about yourself and your background with WordPress and so on.
Well, hello. Of course, my name is Scott Kingsley Clark, and I am a lead developer at Modern Tribe on one of the plugin teams. I'm also lead developer of the Pods Framework plugin. We're doing some really awesome things for free for everyone to be able to use cool stuff with WordPress. Am primarily like into PHP and stuff. So you'll see me messing around and mucking about with databases and such. And I have cats, and I love music, and Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. I think you should have a T-shirt made up that says PHP and stuff. I think that would be the perfect T-shirt to wear.
Yeah, sounds good. But I have to switch it to React and stuff at some point in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just cross off PHP and put React underneath it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Just out of interest, Scott, you mentioned that obviously the Pods work is that's a free thing. We can all access that completely for free. But the Modern Tribe stuff is a paid gig. I'm sure we've all heard of the events calendar. That's, as far as I know, that's your most successsul plugin. How do you split your time? Do you just sort of fit Pods in where you can, or is it very much 2 days a week on Pods, 3 days a week on the paid stuff?
Well, I live in Dallas, Texas, in the U.S., and I'm working remotely, so it doesn't really matter where I live. But I work full-time remotely for Modern Tribe. And throughout the entire week, I'll be doing work up to a certain amount of hours each week. And then Pods kind of just fits in like a little puzzle piece as the week goes along, in the evening sometimes, or on the weekends, or holidays or whatever. I spend a great deal of time on Pods. Like this past month, maybe like 100 hours or something like that. I don't know. I spent quite a lot of time on Pods just to try to make sure it keeps going forward. I don't personally get like a salary from Pods, so it's something that is just like I'm super into it. And Modern Tribe's been gracious enough to give me a little bit of time from Modern Tribe's time as well to help me work a little bit on Pods too.
Wow.
So it's not
100 hours a
like
month.
a long-term situation, but it's super nice of Modern Tribe and the folks there to let me get a little bit extra time just to spend on that, because I'm learning a lot while I develop pods, and it's I think it's a good investment on their side. I'm learning a lot of React right now.
Yes, that's good. I know that Paul is, or I don't know if he's still a big heavy user of it. You have used it in the past, and I think you're a what is the word? You are you're not a sponsor, a friend of Pods.
Friend of Pods. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Friends of Pods is a donation-based program we have, which keeps us alive, and people donate one time or annually or monthly or whatever, and it's just super helpful to keep us powered, because it's not just me. I have like many people involved with Pods through all of the puppetry I'm trying to do while I do my full-time job. So I'm leading developers at Modern Tribe, and I'm leading developers at Pods, and it's a challenge.
Yeah.
And the Pod's website actually uses GiveWP for the friends raising. So we have a connection, Scott.
Beautiful.
I love Give.
That's good. Oh, this is nice. This is lovely. So we have the North American side, the other one over there, and we have the European side over here. So let's see how this goes. We are WP Builds. If you don't mind 2 seconds on this, I'll be as quick as possible. We do tons of WordPress content each and every week. This is our main website. Does need a bit of an overhaul, but there you go. If you click on this link, the subscribe link, you can sign up. We'll tell you when we produce new content and when there's other WordPress deals. Join our Facebook group. Honestly, join our Facebook group. It is so very pleasant. And I'll say that one thing about it. I could say 1,000 things about it, but that is the one thing to say about it. I have yet to come across a snarky comment. I don't think I've booted anybody out. It's just polite. I have no idea how that's happened, but I'm tremendously glad it has. So go and join that Facebook group.
I booted someone out on your behalf.
Say again.
I booted someone out on your behalf once.
I take it back. It's an awful group. Don't bother joining. We have to boot people out all the time. It's utterly dreadful.
You don't like to get your hands dirty, do you? If you want to boot someone out, you get one of the crew to do it, and that's how I did it.
Yeah, if you booted somebody out, I did not know that. So that's
it's like Paul's the bouncer at the door. Right?
Yeah,
He's like watching for the behavior.
Little new beard of his. He looks ever so bouncer-like. Right, so this is our deals page. We've got a bunch of 365 days of the year deals. I have no idea why these plugin and theme developers give them to us, but they do, and they never run out. So go and check that page out. Also, our archive section here leads us to, and I've decided it's worms this week. I don't know why, but each week we do an animal, and this week the news is about worms, apparently. And it's this one. It's number, what are we on to? We're on to number 116. So we've done this 115 times in the past, and we're going to natter through some of these bits and pieces as we have probably about 50 minutes left. So first bit of news, WordPress core stuff always makes it into the top if there is any. This is just great news. Nobody's going to be political about this. There's only goodness here. Herein lies goodness. Happy birthday, WordPress. 17 years old. It was obviously a fork, Mike Little and Matt Mullenweg many years ago, sitting there on different sides of the Atlantic, playing with a thing called B2 Cafe Log. There it is. I confess I've never even seen B2 or Cafe Log, but that was what they forked and got started on the WordPress project. And here we are, a full 17 years later. And it's now apparently, according to Justin Tadlock, was it Justin? Yep. According to Justin Tadlock, let's call that 37%. Last time I checked, it was about 35. So it's gone up nearly 2 percentage points in the last 8 or 10 minutes. And it just seems to be going in that direction. This article takes a really nice twist on it in that he talks about the teenage years, how during these years it's kind of like fighting amongst itself and it's being a bit stroppy and it's getting into trouble with various different entities and so on. And I think that's true. And he's waiting for WordPress to get to being like 20, where it becomes an adult and gets a job and has to be sensible. And everything.
I love this article. It's so funny.
Has its own car, stop stealing the keys.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So I'll take this off the screen. There's no point in that being there anymore. But
the one thing I'll say is that it makes a lot of sense looking at WordPress like that, with it being 17 years old, why there's so much trouble at the moment. If I look back to our younger days. But the one thing that does concern me is that if it looks to the future that it's going to get more mature and all that sort of stuff, I can tell you for a fact that life does not get simpler as you get older.
That's a good
So
point.
let's see. Fingers crossed. WordPress can mature nicely after its teen angst years.
Yeah, Justin kind of makes the point, doesn't he, that basically his life is now WordPress, and I'm sure. I'm just thinking about each of you one at a time. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're all just. That's what we do, right? Without WordPress, everything's going to be a different life. So. I don't have as large a debt to WordPress as many of you. I've been probably using it for about 6 or 7 years, maybe a little bit longer. But it's completely changed my life. All the political stuff, it kind of washes over me to some extent. But I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today without it. So I have a great debt. So open it up. If anybody just wants to tell a story about it, go for it.
Well, I also want to mention the other piece of news from WordPress this weekend is they've announced the team for the 5.6 major release, which is all female identifying, and I'm on the team. So this will be my first time being part of a WordPress release, and I'm super excited about it. I don't know a lick of code, so I'm definitely not going to be the coding part of that release, but I'm super excited about that. And the idea that Josepha had to bring a group of all female identifying people to run that release is very exciting. So 5.5 is the next major release, and we're all shadowing people within the 5.5 release so that when we get to our release, we're not just running around not understanding what happens. So super exciting for that. And that it's coming into, the 17th year. I've been using WordPress 10 years, and it's been fun to watch things kind of develop and grow over that time. So just really excited about all of it.
Scott, any I'm guessing you've been using it for a lengthy period of time. I guess that you're in debt to it in some way.
In many ways, I've been using WordPress since about 2007. I want to say, and it's been for sure. It's like changed a lot of different things. It's changed the way I worked. Started in an office job where I was doing development, and they're like, "Hey, we need to use WordPress for this." And I was like, "Oh, let's not use that because it's so big and it doesn't. I don't think we need it. It does too much stuff." And then I got into it, and I was like, "Oh wow, this could do a lot of things because this makes it easier for me to do all these other things." And then I just went whole hog into it, and then pods started springing up, and I got even further deeper into it, and it's for sure it's been a really amazing experience and journey for me. I've been very, very lucky and privileged, and I try to lift everyone else up as much as I can through all of my open source work.
Yeah, it's nice. 17 years. I'm guessing there are maybe a couple of CMSs out there that have been going maybe a little bit longer, but nothing with the sort of sense of power behind it, shall we say, that WordPress has at the moment. It's a phenomenal journey. This number, though, this kind of number of 37%, there's got to be a point, right, where that tops out. Has there? Obviously at 100, it's going to top out. But do you think at any point we're going to see this curve going flattening out?
I don't know. The other thing as well is that when WordPress made a deal with, is it Facebook for React? Is that who owns React?
Yeah,
Facebook,
yeah.
That React will be able to also mirror that it powers 37% of the web as well, which is pretty impressive thing for them to be able to.
I think Facebook already powers about 80% of the web, don't they? The other 20% held by
There's how much websites there is and how much people spend time on the web. Facebook has probably got a big chunk of that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, anyway, happy birthday, WordPress. Without WordPress. We couldn't be doing what we're doing right now. So let me just put my screen back in. The next piece was, I don't know if anybody wants to talk about this, but Justin Tadlock and his relentless mission to keep us updated on all the things that are happening over at Gutenberg. We've got Gutenberg 8.2. A couple of nice things in here. It includes editing flow improvements. I'll come on to that in a second. Cover block, content positioning, and patterns category. I didn't really know that some of this wasn't a thing, but apparently you weren't able to do control copy or command copy with a block and then stick it somewhere else. It's not very rare that I actually have to copy a block. Most of my stuff is text, so each block is entirely different to the previous one. but apparently that's now possible. And also there's an amendment to the way things are done when you click return or enter after you've been editing an image. You now get the ability to write text underneath it. Apart from that, we've got this positioning thing where you can take an image of some green leaves, for example, and instead of having it center, you could have it bottom center or top right. So it's a minor thing, but if you've got a photo that previously you just had to crop exactly right to get it where you wanted it, no more. That is now a thing of the past. What else was there? There's some CSS attached to that, by the way, and there it is. And categories for patterns. This, I think, could be quite important going forwards. In the future, if you've got a block pattern which you're using extensively or you've created, you can now stick them into categories. They are as follows: text, hero, columns, buttons, gallery, features, testimonials, and I don't know why it didn't make the list, but uncategorized is a category as well. So some nice little Gutenberg improvements. Again, it's over to you if you want to talk about it, or I'll just press on if nobody pipes up.
I got something which is just, I'm starting to warm to this concept that I'm seeing in Gutenberg now a lot more than I was before. A lot of that's down to Tom Osborne's Generate Blocks plugin.
Generate Blocks, yeah.
Yeah, Generate Blocks is really cool. But looking at the screenshots there, it actually bizarrely starting to feel safer. I run an agency, so I'm always thinking about clients. It feels that if clients are kind of more or less wireframing from set block patterns that you can put out for them, and that, of course, it doesn't look exactly the same in the back end, but then all the style is as usual put on the front end. And to me, that's starting to feel like an actual step in the right direction compared to the kind of the time of page builders where there's always this fight between giving the client too much control so that they destroy their own page with too much power. I kind of like the idea that it feels sort of wireframing. You drag in wireframes, you put the content in, and the designer has applied all the style on a layer on the front end. So I'm starting to warm towards it. It's took a long time for me to start warming towards this, but that's how I'm feeling at this moment, seeing the last couple of weeks of development.
I've not sat over the shoulder of a client and tried to watch their pain, but I remember. Do you remember? It was probably about a year ago. There was a set of videos that were shot with exactly that. You know, they put a bunch of people in front of Gutenberg and they got them to carry out a basic set of tasks, like add a title, add a paragraph, highlight and make this bit, and it was just painful, right? It was just 100% agony from start to finish, all of them. Including the person who got the most correct, they still were having a terrible time. And it does feel like that's kind of going away. But if I just put that screen on again, I still don't know. I still think there's quite a lot of puzzle in amongst that lot. These little areas where you don't quite know what to do with. I still feel the UI is all right once you've had a play, but compared to, I don't know, page builders, some of the most popular ones, I still think it's more difficult to ascertain what's going to be output on the front end and put things in the right position. But it's going the right way, right?
It reminds me of the old, sorry, Scott, to mention this, the advanced custom fields flexible row, which I'm sure most people who've used advanced custom fields in the old days remember that it was almost like blocks. You almost designed kind of blocks within advanced custom fields, and then you could duplicate and you could create this exact sort of thing where you had, you know, a block with a repeater in there and stuff like that. And that's how we used to make websites before page builders. You'd kind of make your own page builder with advanced custom fields. And this just kind of reminds me of that, except this, you can definitely make more mistakes doing this than you could with the old way of doing it. So it feels like it's going back to that, but with a more visual drag and drop sort of feel. It's got some distance to go, but it's the way it's going. There's nothing to stop it now. So
yep.
What's really interesting is, you know, from an industry standpoint, the people who are using this all the time, we have such great opinions about it, whether we like it, we hate it, whatever. But what's interesting is how we influence most of the rest of everybody who's not industry people but are using WordPress. For example, I run the Rochester WordPress meetup, and early on, there was so much resistance to Gutenberg that, a year and a half later, people are like, oh, I'm not using that. That's just, I've heard such horrible things about it, as opposed to trying to embrace it or try it or things like that. The flip side of that is people who are just starting to use WordPress, this is native to them. So whatever's they're using.
Yep.
And there's no resistance there. So it's still this real, I would say, turmoil within the industry as a whole as to how people are approaching it.
Yep. Anything to add, Scott, or should we press on?
I was just going to mention, you don't have to worry about talking about any other plugins with me. I built what was it? WordPress, or I forgot what I even named that site. CompareWP.org, that's what it is. And I put together this big long spreadsheet of all the different plugins for different custom fields plugins, including pods and ACFs and all the other plugins of the WordPress realm. And I recommend people look at it because it's not always the case where you just need one or you just know exactly which one you need. So it kind of lays out all the different features, and there's a lot of great features in ACF for sure. I'm not gonna hate on it. It's the most popular custom field plugin. But obviously pods is for different audience, different use cases, and we've got a lot of cool features coming, but not really trying to compete as much with ACF as much as we are just trying to make sure we have really great, solidly thought out solutions.
Nice. That was a worthwhile thing to
We actually use a bit of both. We like you said, sometimes we're using pods on a project, sometimes we're using ACF, and you just tend to use what feels right for the different situations, or it depends what combination you've got with some other plugins and those kind of things. But I love both of them, quite honestly. It's blessed to have such choice.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. That was nice and worth mentioning. Just a couple of quick comments thrown in. Adina, hello. I don't know if I've pronounced your name right. I don't recognize that name. So welcome from Brazil. That's very nice of you to join us. That's lovely. Hi, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, we talked about you a lot last week with the iceberg. I want to say iceberg. Have I got that wrong? It is iceberg, isn't it? With the penguin logo. Their new minimal text editor. Jeffrey, set me straight. And Matt Medeiros says Paul's nomenclature, safer, is a smart way to frame it. This from Chris, putting it into, I don't like full screen mode. I want that to go away. I
don't even know how to get out of it.
You just go to the three dots at the top right, and you click the thing which says there's a tick, I think, next to full screen mode, and it's permanently set off from that moment on if you do it. But it's,
I'm sure they'll fix that because it doesn't make much sense. And,
even if they just went to the, on the sidebar in the admin UI where you can just collapse it all, even if they just pushed it to that would be sensible. I don't know. It just seems a bit silly. All right. Anyway, let's press on. What does Chris say? Putting people. Oh yeah, exactly that. Right. Let's put the screen back on and carry on. So where were we? We've just done those two. Let's move on to community news next. So this is stuff happening in the community. I'll try to get 3 or 4 bits in this week. There's a fair bit. First one is, now let me see if I can find this. Where's it gone?
WordCamp
Europe. Here we are. WordCamp Europe announces its schedule. So it's happening, I believe it's this weekend. And got this nice nifty feature where you click the little pin. You've decided what you want to watch. You click the little pin, stick your email address in, and it'll tell you when those things are coming online. Interesting move. I wonder how many of these kind of events, if you go to the real WordCamp, there's no way you're not going to attend, right? If you're going to go to all the way to Portugal, you're going to at least show up for it, right? But I wonder what the drop-off rate is for these kind of online events. In other words, all you have to do is fulfill an email field. Say you'd like to be involved. I mean, it's completely free, so there wasn't even a financial burden. And this just seems like a good way of getting people back in the room. Knock, knock. We're about to start. Please come and join us. Interesting. Quite a nice UI. I like what they've done there. Oh, Jeffrey says yes, it's iceberg. Sorry, Jeffrey. I for some reason I was confusing myself there for a moment. Okay, so that's what they're doing. I did want to just point out, because I like the way this page looks, tool set. Sorry.
No,
sorry.
it's fine. We should address the elephant in the room. It really is no problem. You can talk about tool sets.
I was deliberately
there's actually a ton of these plugins out there. It's insane how many.
Yeah. I was saying sorry to be controversial. They've got a new course. It's called WordPress Directory and Classified Sites. And I said to Amir that I would mention it. I kind of like this UI. I like the way they've set out this page. I just think that looks really nice and simple and clear. So if you want to set up a WordPress directory site or a classified site, it's free. And you want to
that looks like GeneratePress to me. But this example that they've put here really is one of the most common things you see Toolset being quite well known for, which is creating directory and classified sites without having to install a pre-made plugin. It is particularly good at that kind of.
You've got all the maps, haven't you? It's all
you've got the maps, you've got the search tools, all those different things. And I know this isn't necessarily what the news item is about, but we've got Scott here, and I was wanted to bring something up that I noticed about Toolset and Gutenberg and the block editor and stuff. In that, there's generate blocks. For those people who know about it, seems to be causing up a big stir in the GeneratePress community. There was even a poll in the Facebook group, in GeneratePress Facebook group, and lots of and GeneratePress combined with Generate Blocks was beating even Elementor hands down in terms of what people felt they might be using in the future. But at the moment, there isn't many, at least visual sort of solutions for things like Archive.
Sorry, I just think he summed it up beautifully.
I like that, yeah.
Advanced pod set.
Yep, I'm going to register that domain. There isn't really a good solution other than Toolset that I'm aware of for things like archive views and single post views, a bit like what you can do with Beaver Thema or Elementor and stuff like that. And it seems that Toolset combined with Gutenberg blocks is actually quite an interesting proposition at the moment for someone who might be interested in going from something like Beaver Thema or Elementor or Divi and its kind of theme-based archive views, search views, 404 views, those sort of things. And I wondered about Pods, if Pods is thinking about that sort of thing at the moment in terms of how does, in the future of WordPress, someone work with things like archive views in a kind of a world where drag and drop is starting to be more popular. So I wanted to pass that over to Scott and just see if you had any thoughts on it at all.
I'll take the volley. So Pods is obviously it's a plugin that lets you build custom post types and add custom fields. It also has a component called templates. And with the templates, even without the templates, you can still use our short code and our widget. And now in our next version, our Pods blocks. And our Pods blocks allow you to do things like list content and specify the HTML you want it to list out in, or specify a field you want to show somewhere from a different like user profile or whatever you want. There's a lot of power built into it. It's also powered by our new Blocks API. Our Blocks API is kind of a thing that, I mean, every plugin out there has to build their own Blocks API in some fashion right now, because it's a kind of a Wild West. And we built this JavaScript powered React Blocks API for Pods, and it allows us to create our actual Pods blocks are built off of it, but it allows us to create blocks very easily. Just tell it what fields to show, how to render it server side, or pass it one of our templates, which is using our own custom syntax. And it allows you to build out blocks really fast from code. And then we have an add-on that we're working on that will allow you to do it from just the UI. You just click and add a block and specify what you want to do and all that stuff. So it's really cool, and we're working on some really cool parts there with blocks. But in terms of archives and details and stuff like that, you can build classified and directories and stuff with Pods super easy without too much knowledge. The only knowledge you really need to know is if you want a list item to be an ordered list or in a table or whatever. Like you specify that with your own HTML, but our syntax is super easy to use for our templating language, and it's very easy to get into and make happen and put it on any page you want with our short code and now our Pods blocks.
With a, I've actually closed the toolset page now, but with a commercial company like Toolset or ACF, there's obviously the opportunity for them to take hold of their own education materials, and in this case, produce a piece like that. Do you do the same with pods? Is there kind of like a marketing push, or a you're our course creator, gal or guy? Do you do that kind of stuff, or do you just more allow people to discover it for themselves and work it out for themselves and contribute to forums and so on?
I think that's what sets Toolset and ACF and others apart from pods is probably have a little more resources. Most of our resource is spent towards development and pushing things forward. We're looking for people to help us with those things, but we don't necessarily have the person that would be able to do that right now. So if anyone wants to do it, just hit me up. But I know that is something we want to do. It's just it's hard to do that as you're trying to make development go forward as well.
Right. Okay. So there we go. You heard it directly.
It's pretty exciting news as a pods user. I didn't even know any of that. I was hoping that you might say something along those lines, and you completely exceeded everything I thought. Yeah, it's
a big release. This Pods 2.8 is it includes groups, ability to add new field groups to any content type, not just pods or post types. It could be for taxonomies, everything else. And with that, it's a big rewrite of our API code. So there's major memory improvements. We're not passing around large arrays anymore. More ability to have things defined in the future. Like this structure we put in place allows us to do some really cool things, like having network-wide pods. It's not like in there in this release, but we're enabling a lot of really cool things like network-wide pods, JSON powered just configurations that are in the theme and just picks it up. YAML configurations as well. Code-based registration of things. We already have some code-based registration support, but it's putting it all into this big, really nice structure that's got hundreds of unit tests written for it, and it's really powerful. And then of course the block stuff. Blocks is another major feature that we kind of were able to tackle somehow. It just managed. We found the right person at the right time, and nice. We're able to get that moving forward while we're working on our group stuff. So we're really close. We're probably looking at maybe very early July for a release or some sort of solid beta.
That's not long to wait, is it? Well, like 4 weeks or so, yeah, maybe. Matt Medeiros said he tried this 6 years ago with Conductor. I do remember.
He was too ahead of the game.
Yeah,
we had some pods integration with Conductor too, I believe.
Yeah,
and they were it was a pretty cool plugin.
Yeah. Just a quick question. Might as well stay on this whilst we're on a roll. Peter asks, will custom post? It's like a webinar. It's turned into a webinar. Will blocks be compatible with page builders?
Well, that's the extent of the page builder, right? So if the page builder supports any block, then it should support pods. However, I am working with Divi code and looking at potential Divi support and Elementor support, like at a native level for some of those. We do have already have some support for Beaver Builder and Beaver Themer. And that is going to obviously, it's separate from what we're doing right now, but it's going to lead us to the point where we can put what we're doing right now into it. So there's quite a lot of cool stuff able to happen. But if the theme or plugin supports just Gutenberg blocks natively, then it will port over.
Thank you. On any given week, there's a high chance that Bernard Greneau would be sitting in your chair, Scott. So he's I know he's been working with you on the.
He's amazing.
On the side, yeah.
He's an enigma.
Yeah, he makes chocolate. Hot chocolate.
It's like the Willy Wonka of
of the WordPress world. Yeah. I don't think he's watching. He probably would have commented.
No, I think he'd appreciate that comment anyway. Can I ask one more question, Nathan? Just on the pods thing, just before we move on. Scott, I just wondered, how does a plugin like Pods figure out what its roadmap is? Is that like a community decision, or is because it's a different setup than some of the more commercial plugins? So I just wonder how you actually decide what all these cool things that you're going to do.
Yeah, so Pods is nothing without the community. Obviously, most of the people involved, including me, come from the community itself. And for me as a lead developer, I've just been given reins to make it push forward. But in terms of what we work on is a little bit like personal decision on my side, but also greatly educated by the community. So especially our friends, we do surveys every now and then with our friends in our Slack channel, and we get really good feedback of what people are wanting and what people are liking about pods and what they want changed and what is important. And we've got some really solid add-ons that we're working on with that information that we've already gathered. Some of the add-ons will be free. Some of them will be friends of pods only. So you'd have to become a donor to pods to be able to get access to it. It's not necessarily like a subscription purchase level thing. It's more so just support us, and then we'll give you access to our add-ons. And nice we actually built it integration with Freemius for licensing. So it's already all built out. So as soon as we launch our first license or first add-on, it'll just work magically on the friend site. It's integrated with Freemius and Give. So if you are a specific level of donor in Give or an active donor at a certain level, then it'll automatically kick you a license to Freemius. So it's pretty cool setup. I did it all with API.
Nice. Yeah, that is awesome.
Really, you've trained your cats to help you with this coding.
Yeah, your cat stood up at just the right moment. It was all crescendoing.
Yeah.
We
got two cats here.
It was me. I did it all.
Zoe, and we got Waldo right here.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I have guinea
They're
pigs.
great help.
They're not going to want to go in front of the camera. They would only freak out. Right. Thank you. That was really interesting. I wish we could probably do the whole hour on that, but let's just try to cover a couple of extra bits, if that's all right. I want to do that's the wrong word. I want to mention this article because David McCann is a very large contributor to our community. And whenever he produces an article, and they're always huge and really interesting. There is no way that I'm going to be able to sum up what David has encapsulated in this article, but you can see by the size of the scroll bar, it's pretty long. He goes the deep dive on the current state of WordPress themes and how they interact with the block editor. And he carries out the same test on a whole ton of WordPress themes, and here they are. He's loads of them. And he sees what the output is. And I won't spoil anything. I just want to mention it because he's fabulous, and I want people to go and read his content. And if you're into using any of those themes that I've just shown you, and you want to integrate them with the block editor, he might have a bit of insight, pitfalls to watch out for if you're getting a new theme.
I produce a lot of content, but I've never written an article that required a table of contents. Yeah. So now that is my new goal. I will now seek to write an article so great that I need its own table of contents.
I think you've really arrived when you've started to use the table of content, and it's effectively used as well. Yeah, I just don't know where he gets the time, because honestly, this would have taken me a month to put together. I mean, maybe not right if I was just doing it, but I know he's busy. He's got his work and everything. Still manages to do it. So well done, David. I don't think
David is really always thinking about this stuff, though. If you follow David in the community, he's always got great insights, and it's really a labor of love, I think, for David in this area. So I really appreciate the detail he's put into here. I've read some of it so far, and I need to come back to it. I didn't know I'd need so much time to come back and read it all.
It's big. It is big. I mean, a lot of it's images, to be fair, but that's not taken away from it. When he writes in, for Matt Medeiros, loved conductor. I don't know who you are, Facebook user. If you want to just click the thing above the post, it goes to StreamYard, and you have to give StreamYard the permission to suck in your name and avatar. So whoever you are, maybe somebody could tell me by being in the
It's me.
Oh, is it?
It was me. Sorry. I was like, why does it say Facebook user? Oh, well.
That's like a recursive loop of unnecessary information that I've just spewed out. It's you. Okay. In which case, I'll just press on. So there we go. There's David's stuff. I just wanted to bring this one up just because it's automatic. I don't think automatic get much of a mention very often in this mighty publication, TechCrunch. But it was all about how Automatic pay their employees. And if you think about it, everybody's going distributed. Like Twitter have basically said you don't need to show up to the office anymore. And I know a bunch of other companies have done the same thing. And it's kind of like, so here's the distribution of Automatic's employees, most of them in North America, quite a lot in Europe, and then they're spread out throughout the globe. And it's kind of like, how do you remunerate these people fairly? In other words, if you're living in North America where the cost of living is significantly higher than it might be elsewhere, how do you balance that? How do you make that fair? And so, TechCrunch being TechCrunch, they've got the power to get people like Mullenweg to talk, and so he does. And that's what this article is all about. So if you've got an agency and you're thinking, let's just jack the cost of our bricks and mortar establishment, let's all go remote and let's distribute the team throughout the world, this might be insightful for you. I know this is his growing area of expertise. It kind of feels like in 2 years' time, Matt will no longer be talking about WordPress. He'll just be some sort of distributed workforce bloke. He was on the Sam Harris podcast the other week, which is a bit of a foray for me and Paul often, and he was talking about just that. So he is the man. Right. What else?
Is he saying that Automatic pays everybody equally? Is that what this article?
It doesn't fall out that way. No, but to be honest with you, I read it on Thursday or Friday, and I can't remember the nuances of it. But that much I know, it doesn't fall out as everybody gets the same thing. Which, in a way, you'd kind of think it ought to be in some sort of meritocracy. But then, if you listen to Sam Harris's podcast from this week, all about
an episode on the failure of meritocracy. Yeah,
this is quickly becoming the Sam Harris podcast. Okay, quickly moving on. Yes, okay, ever so quickly. This is weird. So Automatic, I've got these block experiments. And if you think about it, if you were Automatic and you were trying to think of interesting things to do with the block editor to demonstrate its capabilities, right at the top of the list, of course, is stars. That's what you'd do, right? You'd get a background and fill it with moving stars. There it is. That's what they've been playing with. It's the Starscape block, no doubt going to be highly deployed throughout the universe. And then there's the waves block, which makes, patterns. And it's customizable.
I know one site that would use the stars.
Okay.
I do.
There had to be one. It's not owned by Automatic.
Hadlock said that he had a desperate need for that as well. So clearly, I'm pretty sure he says it further up in the article. That it's like, I needed this block a year ago.
Yes, yeah. But he lived without it for a year, right?
Yeah.
But it's just interesting. Do you know what? I'm being highly facetious. Why not? Why not do this perfectly? And I guess what they're doing is they're playing with animation, right? And they're demonstrating what can be done with animation. So it is quite cool. Forgive my audacious sarcasm.
I would have to pair it with a Star Wars font, though, to make it purely
yes,
retro,
that's
right?
what they need. What they really need is that receding text that goes up into the background.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be good. Right, I know what we're all
Star Wars paragraph block.
Yeah,
you can fork it.
This time next week.
And to mix my shows, just make it so.
Yeah, somebody somewhere, I bet you.
So we all.
Anyway, waves, you can do waves. But here we go. Now we're on to more familiar ground, right? And just going back to Scott here, we've got the events block. This could be quite interesting. I mean, forgive me, Scott, I don't know a great deal about the events calendar, but I am imagining that you have similar functionality in it that allows you to just sort of whip a block out and deploy your events on a WordPress page or post or whatever.
We have an events content type. It's a post type. And then you are able to enter all your events in through that entry. This is very abstracted. So this is a block that allows you to put in some basic event details in here and then put it anywhere on a site. It's not necessarily meant, well, it could be. It could be used as like, I have a page here for an event, I have a page here for an event, but oh wow, hello cat. But it's basically it's meant not necessarily as a way to view a calendar or to see a lot of related data like this. I don't think this even saves anywhere that's like very easily queried. It's in Gutenberg data, which is a spaghetti mess once you look at the markup. But It's for sure. It's not necessarily something I would be worried about as a developer of the events calendar, but it's really cool for people that just don't need a calendar. They just need a place to highlight events.
Just a single block. We've got one thing going on. Here it is, just a nice, pretty way of doing it, and it kind of feels like that's what it's for. But then we've got this, which is a bit more powerful, layout grid block, so the option to set up different columns and so on and so forth. This is I think where most of my attention would be going. And I know, as Paul mentioned earlier, I've been playing with the generate blocks and being deeply impressed by what I can do with it. I confess I haven't played with this and what it can do. Whether it's as capable, I don't know, but that's something else thrown in. So there you go. A whole bunch of new blocks. Anybody want to contribute more onto that, or shall I just move on? I'm conscious Michelle's got to go in 12 minutes.
I just wanted to, if I could, just share some of my news. I just sent you a link, Nathan, but this is the 1-year anniversary of my podcast this week.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah.
Bring it up. Hold on. There we go.
Yep. So WP Coffee Talk has been around for a year. I have over 110 episodes already recorded, 81 out in the world. The 81st one was with Marika van der Acht from Yoast, and that went live last night. So I'm just going to do a little, online thing. So if people want to join in on the fun Friday at 5, you have to bring your own coffee because, quarantine.
Oh, so you're doing a live event. Oh, that's nice. Sign up. So it's in celebration of your 100th episode.
Well, no, it's in celebration of the 1-year anniversary.
Oh yes, it says so. Look, 1 year with us. Sorry, apologies.
That's okay.
So sign up. Go and join Michelle. When is that happening? Let me get the date. 5th of June. So very soon.
This Friday, yeah. I put the UTC time in there for all of you people that aren't in New York State, but there you go.
What platform are you using? This seems to be the conversation of our era. What is the platform of choice to get loads of people online?
Yeah, I haven't figured that out yet, which is why I'm asking people to sign up, but I'm sending them a link later. I have some conversations happening with some useful people this afternoon to help me make that decision. Well,
it seems like everybody's default is Zoom, and then everybody kind of got zoomed out, as it were. But it really I'm actually looking at I'm perhaps going to embed a Jitsi. A Jitsi meetup right into the website, but I'm not a developer and I have to figure out how to make that work. So we'll figure it out. But please sign up or just follow me on Twitter. Follow WP Coffee Talk on Twitter because I will be posting it out there as I have those decisions made this week. I know that Tim Nash in the Big Orange Heart channel has done that, so you could speak to him. I'm sure Tim would help you out. Yeah. Yes, thank you. And I see Vito said congratulations. Thank you, Vito. Vito is one of my past guests as well. And I hope that people aren't waiting for invitations. You can just go to the website, sign up to be on the show. I don't have time to invite all the wonderful people I'd like to invite. But please, if you are interested in being on the show, just sign up. That's cool. That's very cool. Thank you, Michelle. That's what was worth. Thank you for letting me share it. No, that's worth it. Okay. Thank you. Done that one. Elementor users, I think this is quite nice actually. Elementor. So we're on GitHub because it's a beta request. They're asking for people to assist them with their multi-step form. I mean, this is a kind of thing that a dedicated forms plugin is probably guaranteed to have. Gravity forms and so on and so forth. But having this inside the Elementor form is not yet possible, I would assume, if they're beta testing this feature. But they're after that. Plus, they've got this Lottie widget, which they want to help people. Well, they want people to help them work on. I confess I don't know much about this either, but apparently it enables you to do all sorts of tremendously complicated animations and zooms and, well, there you go. That image kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Some geezer on a bike who sort of shrinks and grows and what have you. And they want help with that as well. And there is, I say it every week on the actual news, there is barely a week goes by where there's nothing fresh to say about Elementor. And I don't just mean like, oh, they've done some tiny little thing. Just about every week it's like, what? Again? Really? They're doing great stuff. Vito says, congratulations, Michelle. and obviously we blank out Paul's face at this point, as is customary, at 2:52 on a Monday. And the Facebook user. Well, that's exactly why he did it. Let's do it this way. I don't know who this user is, but they're saying congratulations.
Well. Whoever you are, thank you very much.
Nice. Okay, let's bring it back. What else have we got? David Von Gries, I want to offer him pat on the back. Congratulations. He's done a lot of work in the recent past making his customizer faster in the Page Builder framework. If you use the Page Builder framework, so many people saying so many nice things about this theme. I think for a lot of our friends, it's become their go-to. And he's made it faster in the customizer. So things don't refresh anymore. If you change the color of a button, it just changes right there and then, apparently, and two less HTTP requests. So it's all speeding up over there.
WP Crafter did like a speed test between a lot of the popular themes within the kind of online Facebook bubble sort of area of WordPress. And I'm pretty sure that that David's theme won. Actually, I know it wasn't like a very scientific test, but so he's exceeded already what he achieved on that competition.
Nice. Yeah. It's a big audience that he's got as well. So
definitely got a cult following, and it is a fantastic theme.
I think we all should get a cat. I'm looking at this now.
Dog, it's down here. I can bring it in.
Bring in the dog, please, before Michelle goes. We've got 7 minutes.
I'm looking. I have 3 cats here, but not a single one of them is interested in the podcast.
Yeah. Now, if the dog only spies the cat, there'll be an online fight.
That's right.
I think I told you
I
previously.
always like to say that this dog looks just like Nathan. I think.
Did I say that in? Sorry, Michelle, go on.
It's the hairstyle.
They have the same barber, yes.
Yeah.
No barber. That's the problem. I saw a great thing on Facebook the other week, and it was a picture of maybe I said this. It was a picture of a sheepdog staring at a Zoom call on the screen, and on the screen was just loads of sheep, just in different windows. There's the sheepdog longingly trying to corral them all. Right, we've gone totally off message, which can be fun, I suppose. So anyway, well done, David, on sorting that out. It looks really great. What else have we got? WooCommerce. If you're a WooCommerce user, which I am not, then they have this new testing, rather, a block-based cart and checkout. Sarah Gooding writes about that. Go check it out. You might want to be on the bleeding edge of that one. And we might as well do it again. Let's just do it again because it's the next tab I've got open. Oh, Michelle's got this online event coming up very, very soon.
I can't wait to get back to the office because I've been using the same 5 mugs while I've been in quarantine here. I have 30 more mugs in the office, and I can't wait to use them all again, like my Wonder Woman mugs, for example. So,
are you going back? Is the office opening?
Yeah, we're reopening the office 2 weeks from today. So,
okay, yeah,
looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's nice. Oh, congratulations! It'd be nice to return to some kind of normality like that.
Absolutely.
If you want some deals, most of these are on AppSumo, but Give WP, look at that one, 40% off. That's still going, right? I checked Friday. Let's just have a quick look. The internet's struggling. Yeah, there you go. 40% off Give WP, makes top spot up there. Along with there's an Amelia booking plugin and a bunch of other stuff. I know Paul's checked this one out, if so, but there's a load of stuff up there. Let's not get into the security, but all I'm going to say is if you've ever heard of Page Layer plugin, go and check out WordFence's post about that. 200,000 sites. Good grief. That is to say, me and David on our podcast this week, we did an episode with this. We did Adrian Spiak talking about TranslatePress. If you've not seen this, it's very cool. If you want to do a translation, usually it's metadata, right? You put the translation into metadata. Well, he's got this page builder field. It's like the customizer. And so you go to the page that you want to translate, you click on the thing you want to translate, and then you fill out a little field on the left and you say, I want it, Spanish is this, German is this. And you just go around clicking on the things you want to translate and it just does it all. So it's dead cool, I think. Gorgeous cat, Scott Kingsley Clark. Whoever that is. Yeah, I don't know, but they're covering up your face again. Sorry about that. So that was our
The last one
podcast.
in. Whoever's the laziest and doesn't arrive on time ends up.
Yeah,
at the
that's right.
bottom.
No, do you know
That's
what? That is
Peach.
yeah. Oh, is it Peach? Well, in that case, let's do
Oh,
it
hi,
again.
Peacher.
Yeah. There you go. Look. Peach is wearing a cap. And the rest of it is, well, let's go to the non-WordPress stuff. Couple of articles this week. One that they're all about space. Sorry, I just love space exploration. Did any of you, before we get onto that, did any of you watch SpaceX first commercial, manned flight? Did anybody see that? Did anybody obsess about it like I did?
Well, I watched it live. I didn't obsess about it, but I was like, oh, I want to catch it. And then I watched it live with my kids, and I was super anxious. I was like, oh, no, please, nothing go wrong, because I do not want to have to explain this alongside everything else going on in the world.
Yeah. Paul was saying earlier before the show started, when they were, the big thing about the Falcon 9 is that you can land the first stage back on a ship. And if you were watching it live, the ship was completely empty. And then it went to, what's it called? When interference. We just had a load of interference. And then suddenly the interference went away and there it was. And it was the perfect conspiracy theory. That didn't happen. Somebody just superimposed the picture. But I was glued to it. I was absolutely glued to it. And the attention to detail and all that. Don't worry about your dog, Paul. It's fine. You can have it barking. You don't need to mute the dog. It's totally all right. And so the other two things that I've got are all to do with space this week. Yes, independent. I will accept your cookies. Let's just have them, please.
I have to run, but I just wanted to comment. Leo says it's time to send Nathan into space.
Thanks, Leo. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm gonna.
Sorry, I have to buzz out early, but
we'll carry on for a couple more minutes. Take it easy. Thanks, Michelle. Are you all right getting out? Yeah.
I'm fine, thank you. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye. She's got an important meeting about well, I'm not going to say in case it's private, but it's a good thing. There is an Earth around our nearest star, scientists confirm. Like, how cool would this be? I don't know how far away Proxima Centauri is, but I expect it's further than Berlin. And it's probably quite a long way, right? But there's apparently an Earth-size object, 1.17 times the size of Earth, in the habitable zone on our closest star. So I'm already packing. I'm trusting that Elon's going to have the vehicle ready for me by next weekend.
Well, I trust thoroughly that it is them that's going to be coming to us to rescue us, and not us going to them anytime soon.
Yeah, that's interesting. You'd hope.
I think they'll probably build a wall in space to stop us getting anywhere near.
Don't get political now.
No.
Ooh. What's that?
I don't know.
Oh, it's the video. There's a video suddenly started to play. Of course, because I accepted all the cookies, the Independent decided about 30 seconds later to just show me a video. That's nice. And the other one is this. Oh, for goodness sake. We live in this world, don't we? Yes, I'll accept them all, and then I'll clean you all out later. Now, how true can this even be? What is this? Let me just put this on the screen. NASA, apparently, this just doesn't even make sense, but here we go. Apparently, there was a universe created at the same time as ours, next to ours, where everything runs backwards. But the rules of physics are completely the opposite. Now, I'm not even going to pretend that I understand this, but if any of that's true, it's dead.
That dog looks like mine, though. That dog looks just like my dog. I know that's not what we're talking about.
NASA scientists have detected evidence of a parallel universe right next to ours, where all the rules of physics seem to be operating in reverse. Fans of sci-fi comic books have known about the parallel universe since the early 60s. But while physicists have been debating since 1952 whether we actually exist in a multiverse when quantum, blah, 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 lots of technical language. Go and read it if you're into all this stuff, because I love this and it blows my tiny little mind. Any
other people in the UK who used to watch the TV show, sci-fi show, Red Dwarf?
Oh, yes.
They did cover. Scott, have you seen Red Dwarf?
Yeah.
Yeah, they covered a parallel universe in that, where time ran backwards. They had fights, they were eating food, and I think the cat character needed to go and do a number 2 at the end of the episode, and didn't work out too well for him, I don't think.
I can imagine. Whenever I was a kid watching British sci-fi, I always felt it was the poor relation of a North American, or particularly, United States sci-fi. The United States sci-fi shows, Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek, they always felt like watching a film. And then you'd watch things like Red Dwarf and Doctor Who, and everything would shudder, and it looked as if it was made of cardboard, and it was clearly a person in a crappy latex suit. And there we are. Scott's looking, you can see he's into Doctor Who. Do you not feel that, Scott? Do you not, when you look at Doctor Who, kind of feel like this is like quite bad production quality compared to the stuff that...
No. I mean, if
Really?
you look at the older ones, maybe, but I have nothing to relate it to of the age. But like, if you're looking at like the last reboot, like the reboot when it started in 2005 or whatever, it doesn't feel all that bad. I mean, it feels just as bad as some of the stuff I see on TV in America right now. I'm just not a fan of the content restrictions, like how like it's hard to see a lot of really great content from Ireland and in the UK and Scotland, and just being able to get all the content like in America. You can't get anything. It's not fun.
What, you can't get the BBC stuff because it's behind some sort of wall? They just don't release it?
Yeah, like so we have BBC America, but all it shows is American films. It's in BBC in idea only. It shows Doctor Who whenever it does air, but outside of that, you're watching Golden Girls, or you're watching some weird movie like Men in Black. I don't know. They just all these movies are like, this is not BBC America. I was hoping I would be watching Britcoms and all these other things. No, nothing.
Do you watch? Sorry, do you have BritBox?
I don't have that, but I have watched a significant amount of British comedy through the years from our local station, PBS. It's public station, and they do air a lot of the Brit comedies and a lot of newer and older stuff. And I'm a giant fan, but I've watched a lot of stuff. I think I had BritBox briefly, and I watched some other things through some of the other services too.
I'm sure that
me and my wife have both met on separate occasions. Craig Charles from Red Dwarf, and my wife met him about 3 months ago in the pub in our local town, because he does a show called The Gadget Show in the UK, and they'd been filming, which is filmed quite close to here, and him and his mate had just gone for a couple of drinks in the pub on the way back, and my wife and her friends hung out with Craig Charles for the evening in the pub. It was cool.
The things we obsess about. Craig Charles, I presume, is one of those celebrities that if you're of a certain age, it's like, oh, it's Craig Charles, look it. And if you're under that certain age, it's like, bloke, ordinary bloke. yeah, exactly. Yeah, who's he? I think he's a DJ now, isn't he? He's a very well-paid DJ as well. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, we're totally getting off the point, and everybody at this point is shouting, "Get a VPN." Scott, which
I have one. I actually have Nord. I got Nord VPN because I wanted to watch RuPaul's Drag Race UK, and I couldn't do it because of the content restrictions. And there was no way I was waiting.
Oh, that's your reply. That's why it says exactly what you just said. There we go. Right. In which case, just before we finish, we always sort of sum up. Sadly, Michelle wasn't. Just kind of what's going on this week. I'm still in lockdown. The UK is still in lockdown. The schools are opening up, but not for my kids. So I'm still being teacher dad, which is having a dramatic effect on the way things are working over here. What are you up to this week, Scott? Anything exciting?
Nothing too exciting. I'm planning a trip, our first trip in a while, but it's to see my dad in Austin. And it's about 2 hours away, so it's not like really exotic location, but we haven't been out really much since everything has been shut down, and we've been quarantining really well. The girls had just had their last day of school last week, so that was cool for them.
Your school year's just ended, right?
Yeah.
We've got about another 6 or 7 weeks. We end in late July always, and then go back in September. And I'd forgotten that. Yeah. Oh, that's good. So at least at this point, they're on their regular summer, so they can just do ordinary things instead of being sat down.
I can't tell the difference. Before they're asking me what they need to do for school, and now they're asking me what should I do.
Yeah.
They're bored.
That's lockdown and holiday. They are not the same thing, are they? It's just they're really far apart. Paul, What's your
Yeah, well, I guess I'm looking forward to WordCamp Europe if it's the coming weekend, because especially if they've got the Zoom rooms going and that sort of thing. I think that was really good fun at Lee Jackson's agency transformation event, and it was really good fun at Vito and Jan's Dopey feedback event to hang out with people in Jitsi rooms online. And being as we can't actually go to WordCamps at the moment and make in-person new relationships with people, I'm looking forward to going and talking direct to some of the people who run the stands and in some of the community rooms, and see if I can expand the people that I know online within the WordPress community. Because I think you when you do go to WordCamps, you make really good long-term friendships. Just like I hope you class me as a friend, Nathan. Like you and I when we when we met, we became long-term people who knew each other.
Yeah,
I wanted to go to
really
your
good at-
WordCamps over there before too. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say I wanted to go over there to your WordCamps over there, like WordCamp at that time. There's like a WordCamp London, I think, and WordCamp EU and all that. And I really wanted to go to those, but I couldn't afford it. But it probably would have met you, and we would have been friends long term.
Yeah, you're really good at that, I think, though, Paul. You make the effort to go and hang out in those virtual corridors, and you reap the rewards, I think. I think you're a lesson in how to do that kind of networking aspect of those events really well. I'm all right at the live ones, but on the online ones, I'm not so good at, if I'm not in a session, I don't tend to sort of loiter too much. But I might try. I've certainly signed up for this WordCamp Europe. I'll try and attend as much as possible.
Give it a go. Yeah. We're talking with Scott for the first time, and after an hour, it feels like we know each other a lot better than we did before. And it's not the same as in person, but it's a lot better than just typing messages in Slack or Facebook groups.
Right.
We can get to know people quite nicely, and those relationships last a long time. It's really worth if you've kind of been feeling locked down, get involved in the WordCamp Europe live chats. Just go and listen from a bit, and you'll probably meet some people who you'll find a lot of affinity with.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to try and be there. For me, it's just get sidetracked. When I'm at an event, you can't be sidetracked, right? Because you haven't got the kids in tow. But I think there'll be an element of okay, I'll come and do whatever, pick the tennis ball up out the tree or something, and then you never come back to the computer. I must try harder. Right, that's it. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Scott Kingsley Clark. Oh, come on, Wrigley, get your fingers in. There we go. And I'm struggling this week with it. There we go. There. And David Wormsley. I'm so sorry, Paul. And Paul Lacey down there. They even look similar.
We do look the same. We look really similar.
Really similar, yeah. Thanks for joining us both. If you two want to chat for a minute after this, I'll just stop the video and stick around. That'd be nice. But to the rest of you watching this, thanks for joining us. Thanks for all the comments. Really appreciate it. See you next week.